Hello, my name is Brian Thielen, and I'm giving a presentation over correlational designed research. What is correlational research? It's under the umbrella of quantitative research, so therefore we're going to be dealing with data that includes numbers, and it's seeking to discover relationships between two or more variables. So how does one variable affect the other, or if it does? Carl Pearson did some work in the late 1800s on statistical tests, which kind of led to the ability to use correlational research. And as time has progressed, especially with the advent of the computer, we've been able to add more variables into our research, therefore getting more precise research and more complicated research. What are some indicators that you're looking at a correlative designed research project? There's going to be multiple sets of data for each subject. So for each person in the sample group, there should be at least two sets of data. There's going to be an analysis of relationship between variables. So in other words, there'll be either a plot graph or there will be a matrix which will then tell you if there's a relationship, which is then going to lead to the statement of association. Is it a positive or negative relationship? Is there no relationship at all? And how strong is that relationship, if there is one? There's two main types of designs for this type of research. The first is the explanatory design. It's seeking to discover the relationship between two or more variables. So you're going to have two sets of data from each participant, at least two sets, a set for each variable that you're using. And then you're going to use a statistical formula to determine the relationship between the variables. So as an example, say you have a question of, does the length of a beard indicate the length of time a monk has been in the monastery? So they might measure the monks' beards, and then they would also ask them, how long have you been in the monastery? And they'd plot those on a graph or a matrix and see if there's a relationship. For prediction design, let's use the same example. This is seeking to predict another variable based upon the value of a known variable. So first what you're going to do, let's say we have the same question. So we're going to take down the length of a group of monks' beards and write down all those lengths. We're going to see if we can't predict what the length of time will be. So after we kind of look and see, well, it would make sense that the longer the beard, the longer the time the monk has been in the monastery. So after you do that, then you would go back and ask each monk how long they've been in the monastery to see if you're correct or not. There are some ethical issues with correlation research. It only describes relationships. It cannot prove cause and effect. So it's very important that in the statement, it reiterates a relationship, not cause and effect. You cannot edit data. You cannot say 80% is close enough to 77.4%. You can't edit data. It's going to mess with the outcome possibly. The sample size in your research needs to be large enough. So the group of participants needs to be, a fair number of people. And of course, withholding some information that would affect the outcome of the research is also unethical. There are about 6 steps in all correlational design research, according to Cresswell. The first one, appropriateness of the research. Does the correlational research truly go with your problem? It doesn't answer hypotheses, but it does answer questions. Step 2, assemble the study group. Make sure, hopefully, your participants can be chosen at random. Make sure you have permission from the participants and the correct authorities to be collecting the data. And then you also need to make sure that you have enough participants so that your outcome is reliable and unbiased. You need to decide what variables you're looking for for the study. So the variables that we used with the monks were length of beard, time in the monastery, and then we can see if there's a relationship. Looking at a different, kind of a different thought, step 4 is collecting your data. Well, if you had the question, does proximity to the board in the classroom affect the grade of students? You would have students, a whole list of students. You'd collect the feet from the board from where they sit, and then collect their grades, and then figure out, and then you could code the grades, of course, into numbers. An A, 90%, a C, 70%, B, 80%. And then analyze the data. You need to use a statistical test for this. And that would, A, first you would make a graph, and B, then you would analyze it using a statistical test and plugging in your numbers for variables. And again, you're representing the data with a matrix or scatter plot graph. This shows that there would be a negative relationship. And then you're going to interpret the results. Tell the people, is there a positive, like on the left, or is there a negative, like on the right? And then indicate how strong that relationship is. Lastly, to evaluate the research to see if it was good, consider the sample size. How is the data displayed? Is it unbiased? What's the relationship between the variables? What's the outcome? And then the description for the choice of the variables and the statistical test that you used. And here's my research, the research that I did from John Cresswell's textbook, Educational Research. Thank you.